Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Obsidian-Radio with your host Najee, a show dedicated to opening our minds to other realities. Please listen, learn, and enjoy. Hello to all listeners and subscribers. This is the maiden voyage, the very first episode of Obsidian-Radio with your host Najee, hoping to make this an awesome show that entertains as well as opens the minds of people to info and ideas not yet heard. The first episode will deal with the first book in the epic trilogy, titled The Shades of Memnon, written by Gregory Walker, also known as Brother G. Before we get into the book, let me tell you a little bit about the author. Alright, let me see. Where's my list here? Oh, good. Is it okay if I go over your bio first or not?
Yeah. Give me a little background. Where's this going to be?
How do you mean?
I mean, is this is going to be on what type of media?
Oh, I'm going to put it on my own website and on a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I'm getting that set up within the next couple of weeks. And is it okay if I use your bio off of Smashwords? I'm reading it from you right now.
Here's the bio for Smashwords up to date.
Walker biography. Their
bio's not up to date.
Oh, which one should I use?
Let me see. See if I can find my up-to-date bio real quick.
All right.
I sent a bio out not too long. You check it out. Sent mail there.
Oh, you sent it where?
I said I sent a bio out not too long ago. Check my sent mail. Okay. What's your email, brother?
It's let me see. Let me check. It's I'll spell it for you. It's URHOBOMAN, the number 5 at gmail.com. That's uroboman5 at gmail.com.
URHOBOMAN5
at gmail.com. That's the one.
Check your email. 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay. I'm looking for that. Oh, Brother G bio PDF. Just not clicked on it. Let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, Brother G bio. Gregory Brother G Walker is the CEO of African Legends Animation Ltd.
Got it.
A new Bahamian-based animation film multimedia studio, also co-owned by Jeffrey Poitier, nephew of the legendary Bohemian actor Sydney. Oh wow, you work with his. Oh wow, that's nice. Also, author of the acclaimed series The Shades of Memnon book series. Brother G is also a journalist, African-centered researcher, and spoken word comedy poet. For the last 24 years, Brother G has researched and written the series of historical adventure novels showcasing the legends, culture, and spirituality of ancient African cultures. The African Legends genre. Ooh. Awards. Recipient in 2009 of the Octavia Butler Humanitarian Award, and Best New Author of the Year Award at Chicago's Black Book Fair in the year 2000. The Shades of Memnon trilogy is in the planned 7-book series about the African hero of the Trojan War. Well, you got 4 more coming out?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, I didn't even know. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They are used in schools, rites of passage courses, and youth programs nationwide. The Shades of Memnon was licensed for a movie production by actor Wesley Snipes. Nice. Nimrod the Hunter, Book 1, published in 2011, is based on the world-renowned Cushite king from the Old Testament. This book has also been licensed by a New York-based media company and is in pre-production for 2016 wide theater release. Oh, nice. Also, the new Nefertari, Protectress of the Nile book series will debut in May 2014 with Princess Nefertari, the Protectress of the Nile, the manuscript based on a legendary 18th dynasty Egyptian queen. Ooh. Or I should say Comedian queen, but whatever. Has already generated interest from actors and film producers. The African Legends animation is pre-production on Matsu Mamiwata, Story of the Sea Children, first epic animated historical fantasy adventure series set in the nation of the Bahamas. Trailer link. Is this art for any one of these? Like, seeing some art right here. Looks nice. Story of the Sea Children, Matsu Mamiwata. Click here for trailer. Oh, nice. So, you said there's a 7-book series. Is this all Memnon, or is it everything all together?
Nah, man. Seven books of Memnon is on the way.
Oh, wow. So you got like a dozen different stories coming out. Nice. So, if I got this correct, the Memnon that you created is not the original. He's the son of the first Memnon, right?
His father comes along in later books.
Oh, because he got revived by Zeus, right?
Oh yeah.
See, can we go back over the original Memnon and then go back to the Memnon in your stories, or no?
Yeah, sure, man.
Because I want to talk about that in the Ethiopis. So if you want to go ahead with that, that'd be fine.
Yeah, man. Ethiopis is the 3rd book of the Trojan War. And most people only know about the Odyssey of the Iliad. But the Ethiopis was part of the same tradition of Odysseus and Achilles and the Trojan horse and all that stuff. In fact, the 2 most popular things about the Trojan War, the Trojan horse and the sequence where Achilles gets shot in the heel, that takes place in Ethiopis. It doesn't take place in Iliad. So you're talking about a tradition that was obscured due to racism and ripped off to make people, think that African people didn't have anything to do with the ancient world and with that great tradition. See, the Trojan War story is really the foundation of Western literature. And the Ethiopis is the 3rd pillar of that foundation, along with the Odyssey, along with the Iliad. The Ethiopis is really a part of that whole foundational sequence. And the Ethiopis, as the title will tell you, was all about black people coming to fight in the Battle of Troy. So when the Trojans were being confronted by the Achilles and the rest of the Achaeans, or commonly known as Greeks, they called the person who at that time was renowned to be the greatest warrior in the world, with the greatest army in the world, Memnon. And Memnon came with this fantastic army, and in the Ethiopis, they beat up the Greeks, chased them all the way back to their boats. The only reason why they didn't kill the Greeks and slaughter them was because night fell. And when night fell, the Greeks were sitting around those fires, shaking and quaking, knowing that when the sun rose, those Ethiopians were going to descend upon them, led by Memnon, and kill them all. And so they said, well, why not ask for single combat? Let's play on the nobility of the Ethiopians and call upon them for single combat, meaning that, you know, if your greatest warrior wins, we'll leave, and if our greatest warrior wins, you leave. So Achilles and Memnon were the two warrior force that came out. They fought each other today. Neither one could best the other. But the god Zeus wanted Troy to fall. If you remember all those movies like Clash of the Titans and the Hercules series, all that showed the gods moving human beings around like chess pieces and interfering with, you know, what was going on the earth. That's what Ethiopia said happened. So Zeus cast a spell upon Memnon when he was in single combat with Achilles, and Achilles killed Memnon. Then the common things that we know of, the Trojan horse and Achilles getting shot and healed, that happened directly after that.
Now, what was the type of spell that Zeus cast? What was that? Was that like hypnosis or something, or what was it?
We don't know. Nobody knows. The only thing we know is that Zeus, you know, interfered with the battle, and that's the reason why Achilles won the battle. But he didn't win the war, and here's why. After the battle was over with and Zeus had his way, Memnon's mother, who was Eos, the goddess of the sun. So that's a very interesting backstory too, which I deal with in the Shades of Memnon book series. So Eos was a Titan. She wasn't a Greek god. And if anybody knows the Greek mythology, then they know that there was a pre-Greek group of powerful people called the Titans.
Who were supposed to be greater than the Olympians at one point, right?
Right. They ruled before the Olympians. They were kind of descended from the Titans.
Right.
Well, in my book series, the Titans are black people. And so Eos, the goddess of the sun, for some reason she went along with the Greek gods and she ended up on Olympus. And she went before Zeus and a whole bunch of the other gods and goddesses went with her to complain about the fact that Memnon was killed. You know, saying that, you know, Memnon was as great or greater than, you know, many of you gods. And so Zeus said, you know, you're right about Memnon. I got my way, so I'm going to revive him. So he uses his power as the king of the gods to revive Memnon, and then he made him immortal. Not only did he give him life again, he made him into an immortal and offered to Memnon to live on Mount Olympus with them. That's the God, to be a god of Olympus.
Didn't he reject that?
Memnon rejected that.
Yeah, okay.
And he left and said, I'm going back home, back across the great western ocean, back to where my people live. I'm not going to dwell here with you people. And so that was the last anybody heard about Memnon. This was written by a writer named Arctinos Miletos. Miletos was there was a land that was in the Turkey area, kind of close to Troy. And so Arctinos lived there. He was a scribe, just like Homer was. And he took it upon himself to write down the rest of the story in the tome, the Ethiopis. So
what's his name again?
It's called in the tome called the Ethiopis. His name is Arctinos of Miletos. And nobody has written anything in any major way about Memnon until I came out with the Shades of Memnon in the year 2000. So I revived the tradition. They say that Arctinos wrote his book, the Ethiopis, around the same time that Homer wrote it. And this was 700-800 BC. So nobody's written about Memnon and revived the Memnon tradition until I did it in the year 2000.
Now, the original Memnon, wasn't he technically a demigod, or am I wrong?
Memnon was they called him a demigod because he was the son of Eos, who was a Titan,
right?
The goddess.
And his father was a king, right?
His father was a king. His father was the brother of Priam, who was the king of Troy.
Okay, the King of Troy had the brother of the King of Troy. Okay.
Right. That's part of why Memnon came to fight at Troy, because it was his family that was running Troy.
Got it.
So a lot of those characters that they showed in that movie Troy years ago should have been black characters.
Now, here's the thing that's confusing, though. Now, they had the whole fight between Memnon and Achilles and the arrow and the horse and everything. How did they get that without explaining the Ethiopis? How do you wipe out the Ethiopis altogether but keep some of the stories? Who did that and how?
Well, in a book series called Black Athena, the author of Black Athena talks about that. There was a major rewrite of all those types of things, rewriting and obscuring of things that took place in the 1800s.
Martin Bernal, was that his name?
Martin Bernal.
Yeah, okay, I know I heard, okay. So, like, what was the explanation? Like, how did that go about in the 1850s, right? Where they just rewrote all of history for a large portion?
Yeah, and there was a time when, archaeology was just really getting started, and the academic systems were getting revved up here real tough in America, and they just rewrote it, man. And
so much of it was based on basically just racism and eugenics when it came to rewriting what they thought history should be.
Well, you can't have a nation based on enslaving black people and then widely teach that the greatest hero in the ancient world, according to the Greeks, whom you are, saying that you're emulating. You can't say that the greatest hero was a black man. So you got to obscure it and rewrite it, and that's what they did.
Was it a specific group of people, or just in general they just did all themselves?
It was just in general, man. It was just something in general. When you have a social plan where all the people basically are getting social benefits, they're all just going to go along with it. You don't have to sit down in some type of conspiracy and all that. Here's an analogy, brother. Mm-hmm. If your group of people have decided as a group that wolves don't deserve to live because they eat your sheep, they chase your cattle, and all that, then all you got to do is put the word out, and everybody all around the world will just start shooting wolves.
Right.
You don't have to have a national mandate sitting down with people and give them a directive to kill wolves. They've already decided that they're going to do it as a group of people. So they decided as a group of people that they were not going to allow anything glorious in uplifting of our black people. So they automatically, under all circumstances, would rewrite things.
Now, I actually did look for the Ethiopis at one point, but I couldn't really find it. I only found like a couple references that are like a paragraph long. Is there any copies of the whole thing anywhere?
I believe that the Ethiopis was probably found at the same time they found the copies of the Odyssey and the Iliad. And I believe, this is my belief now,
okay,
that the Ethiopis is probably in the bottom of some museum somewhere. Now, how I found the Ethiopis in two ways. One, I found the Ethiopis in the later writings of a whole bunch of different writers who wrote references to the Ethiopis and rewrote parts of the Ethiopis. That's how I found it. And I also found it in artwork. There's plenty of artwork that shows Eos, Achilles fighting Memnon, different stories and things from the Ethiopis.
You have a list of these anywhere? Where you got these references, or is there like a catalog anywhere?
Yeah, it's in the back of my book somewhere. I can give them to you later.
Oh, okay. Because I would love to find it. It wasn't easy to find any references of the Ethiopis anywhere online. It's like, wow, it's like It's really obscure.
And it was meant to be that way.
So,
look, this is how you have to think of it, man. Mm-hmm. Right? The way they obscure things is to not emphasize them. And when somebody just ignores something that's important,
right,
it's other people who look at ignore it also. In the Odyssey, no, in the Iliad, chapter 11, Homer says, "To Troy no hero came of nobler line, or if of nobler, Memnon it was thine." He also says that Memnon was the handsomest man at Troy. This all indicates that Memnon was considered to be superior to the Greeks themselves. So when you academics in the academy teaching things, they gloss over something in order to get the right attitude of what they think is the right attitude in their students. And that attitude is racism. It's just like teaching parts of the Bible. If you want to teach people using the Bible to be slaves, you're going to skip everything about in the Bible that talks about freedom.
Yeah.
And you're going to only emphasize everything that talks about, being happy as a slave.
Social conditioning, like making them normal with what's the thing that you want them to be normalized with, right?
Exactly. It's called filtering. It's filtering information.
Or knowledge filtration. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's
exactly how it is.
Very simple, but very destructive.
It's a very potent way of organizing and propagating racism. Information spraying is very, very potent, man. You can hide something in plain view if you use that type of technique, man. You can stand right next to a statue that looks like Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali, and you can give it a different name that doesn't have anything to do with black people. And then when people point to it and say it's black, you say, yeah, it looks black, but these are the so-and-so such and such that have nothing to do with black people.
Like they've been doing with Egypt forever, and they still do it today.
Yeah.
Have you seen the poster for that new movie that's coming out next month? And they still have like Sigourney Weaver and other people playing the Egyptians? That's just sad. It's like...
I did, my brother.
But it's obvious. Like, why even still do that? People know it's not correct anyway, so what's the point?
People do what they have the power to do, man.
Okay. I ain't watching it. I'm not going to watch anything stupid. But I'm just saying, it's like... There's something odd about still doing certain psychological things that even to this day they don't make sense, but we're still doing them. It's like it's just a bad habit.
It's called tradition, and it's called, being a part of a long-standing way of thinking, way of life. And most people, brother, it's very, very, very hard for most people time. Most change takes place when people die, and advancements get propagated in society after people. Let me put it this way, man. Most people believed that the earth was flat. Died believing. They didn't change, even though people sailed around the world. They didn't change. What happened was, as they died out, information came in, and they just went away. So that's what's going on with these people, man, who are doing the same type of stuff because they can.
Oh, so you're saying that the ones that are still doing that now, they're just older people that are still stuck with their old traditions and they haven't died out yet, is what you're saying? No.
I'm saying that the ones that are greenlighting it are the older people. But the people who are starring in it and writing it and doing the work to make it happen, they can be of any age. They can be of any age, but they're linked, they're chained to the institutions.
Right.
And that's the thing about it, man. You can talk all day to be blue in the face about, doing away with racism and everybody being nice to each other and forgetting about prejudice and all that. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know anything about the institutions that were based on prejudice, you're not going to have any impact. Mm. We need our own powerful institutions in order to combat these other institutions.
So was that part of the inspiration for writing the book series? to try to combat those institutions and those images?
No, not to combat those institutions. It's to create alternate institutions so that people will have something else to go towards, something that will reverberate better than the racist stuff.
What were the other inspirations for the series, or was that the only one?
There was multiple inspirations, man. The Shades of Memnon book series was designed with one giant-sized purpose, and that is to uplift young black men. To give young black men images and information about who we really are, and therefore who we can be, so that we cannot succumb to the, all the manhood hustles of being, a gangster and a booty chaser and all the rest of this stuff. Show people something that is honorable and uplifting. That's what the Shades of Memnon was designed for, and it's doing that job today.
Any other inspirations or no?
Well, there was inspiration about male-female relationships, man.
Okay.
Shades of Memnon shows male-female relationships back the way they originally were. The real purposes, the spiritual purposes, the social purposes of male-female relations, and how that's the foundation of civilization. Remember in the Shades of Memnon, what makes Memnon give him the ability to do what he does is the fact that he has spiritual sexuality with a proper woman. That gives him the ability to wield his mighty blades that call upon the human life force to utilize them.
Okay. So, Wesley Snipes actually has the rights to the production of Memnon, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, he's got the rights to the first 3 Shades of Memnon books. And this took place, shortly before he went to prison. So I don't know what he's going to do now. He's trying to catch up and, get things back in order after being in prison for a little while.
And you're saying that you want this to be a movie series?
That's what we.
Okay.
That's the deal, man. The deal is to make movies, animation, all kinds of stuff, man. Wesley read my books because people kept on telling him to read it. Martial artists, conscious people in the conscious community, people in the film community. Our work has got widespread renown in those communities, man.
I hope it does. Because I'm looking at some of these movies like The Hunger Games or the Harry Potter series or Lord of the Rings. I would really love for there to be like this African mythology series that does kind of the same thing they're doing with the animation, the acting, the widespread knowledge of what these movies are going to do, the influence, all that. We don't really have that.
Yeah, and we don't have that, man, for 2 reasons. One, because the majority of us, I'm talking about writers and authors and people like that, we don't have the appropriate background to pursue this type of thing. 2, the powers that be, they're not in the business of glorifying black people.
No, not really.
Not now, nor will they ever be. You will never be able to count on institutions who themselves were built up by degradation of black people. You got to remember, brother, the foundations of all entertainment in the United States of America is based on our degradation.
Yes. The first major film was Birth of a Nation, right?
The first major film, what they call epic, was Birth of a Nation. But before that, the black-based entertainment during vaudeville,
right.
People, dressing up and, entertaining people to be foolish parodies of us. That was worldwide entertainment, man. You had white people that came from all kinds of different nations, where they had all kinds of different entertainment, opera and polka, folk dance and folk, stuff all over Europe. They came over here And they put all that to the side, and their greatest entertainment was laughing at foolish representations of us. Now, the first major, what you would call talking movie.
Mm-hmm.
This was a movie called The Jazz Singer, and The Jazz Singer was about a man singing in blackface. The first major technological breakthrough in animation was called Song of the South. It was from Disney, and Song of the South was about this brother who was Uncle something. I forgot his name, Uncle Reem or something like that. And his job on the plantation as a slave was to tell stories about Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox, all our stories from black people, to these little white kids to amuse them. And during the course of this movie, it showed this black man walking down the street singing happily as a slave while little cartoon animals and birds flitted all around him in joy and glee. And with him singing, he's a slave now. He's singing zippity doo dah, zippity my oh my, what a wonderful day. All right? So this is all the first major multimedia entity that was really hit, something called Amos and Andy. Amos and Andy was a hit for 30 years or more on radio. Then it came on TV. When it was on radio, there was these two white guys that they did a vocal representation of the blackface thing, where they just did these brutal stereotypes of black people. Then it went to the television in the early television years, and it was the most popular thing on television. Everybody loved, at least all white people loved, to go and watch Amos and Andy make black fools and buffoons of themselves. Now, what you have to understand, brother, along with all the racist cartoons from Disney and Warner Brothers that sold all kinds of racist stuff, all of these institutions still exist now.
Exactly, right.
They made their money. They made their original money off of making fun of us. The recording industry first got started with these nigger songs where you make fun of black people. You talk bad about black people, about how animalistic we were. The first major recordings of music where they would press records and sell them all over the place was degrading records about us. So all of these companies still exist. Time Warner, Disney,
right?
Universal, Paramount, all these exist, and they all come from that background. They made their money. On degradation of us. So it's a tradition for them. It's part of their institutions.
Right.
It's the bricks that built up their companies. So they're a part of that now. So it's a habit that they have not given up, and they can't give it up. It's part of the whole thing. They will never give it up. We have to create alternate institutions in order to do something about that.
They're completely separate from theirs altogether.
Completely separate from theirs altogether.
Because it goes back to this one saying I've heard before about, as in the beginning, so shall be in the end. They started out that way. I don't think it's ever going to stop being that way.
No, and it never works that way.
Right.
People think that, the civil rights movement is a way to solve all problems within this society. It's not. Because the civil rights movement, if you have something called civil rights and people give you some rights, they're only going to give you rights that they think will make them comfortable, not you. They're going to open up the door and they're going to let you into the house that you've never been into, but they'll only let you stay in a room that they want you to stay in. They're not going to give you the run of the house. So if you dedicate all your energy into getting into the house, and then once you get in the house, you think they're going to let you have the run of the house and go where they go.
No, that's not going to happen.
Or rude awakening.
I don't think most people understand, or maybe they do, because it's 2014. This Exodus movie's coming out next month. It's there's a lot of people, white and black, that are pointing out, why are they hiring white actors? And I think that's what it is. It's what you said. They're just stuck in that tradition, doing things their way that benefits their ego, their money, their power, whatever it is.
Right, and their point of view.
And it's never going to change. I don't think that's ever going to change.
One of the reasons why movies like Lord of the Rings is so famous, so popular, is because Lord of the Rings was designed, the original books were written during the time of what we call very, very high-level racism, high-level colonialism all over the world. So in the Lord of the Rings, it shows the Dark Lord coming with his dark armies to take over the world from all these people who are white. And the more righteous they are, the whiter they are.
I've heard, I've noticed that. So that the difference between Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, I've heard that.
Exactly, the elves and all that.
The hobbits, everything.
Yeah. So what you're looking at is a reversal of reality. They know full well that in reality, in real history, they were the Dark Lords. They were Sauron. They were the evil people that came over and destroyed civilizations and committed genocide against people. It was them that did all of that. But in order to propagate something to the world that makes them the heroes, they have to make up these stories. All the science fiction, all of their science fiction and fantasy fiction is based on this. The whole Star Trek thing, boldly going where man has not gone before. You know, the whole Prime Directive thing and all that kind of stuff. These are all things to make up for what they have really traditionally done in the world.
DC, Marvel, everything, even the comic books.
All of that is exactly the same thing. Captain America,
Batman,
all the superheroes,
Superman.
All these things are designed to create and make white people heroes in a world tradition where they really are not. In reality, the bad people, you know, the evil people, the ones that always come to take over your world and destroy what you have and all that, these are all white people throughout history. So in order to...
All white people or mostly white people?
Right. In order to make themselves heroes, they have to make up these stories. So sci-fi and fantasy is designed from the bottom up to scratch their egos and give them heroic stories and to take the place of real history where they were not heroes.
Just playing devil's advocate here. And what if a historian came to you and said that everybody kind of was like that at some point? It wasn't just white people.
I would tell them that that's a lie. You had traditions where people fought over territories. You had traditions where people fought over different, trade routes and all this kind of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But white people are the only people in history who made it their business to come over and destroy another man's shrine, his religious traditions, his religious tradition, and come over and do something called chattel slavery. Now, slavery was something that was done by everybody to everybody.
Right. But
chattel slavery was something new. And chattel slavery meant you're not a human being. You're like a cow or goat. All right? I'm not saying that there haven't been isolated cases of stuff like that. With slavery, you always have different people who have their own and different interpretations of it. I'm saying that here in the United States of America and in the Western world, what was codified by society and by government was the fact that you were not a human being. You were 3/5 of a human being.
Now,
that is something that has not been propagated in the history of the world by any other people except for them.
What about the Arab slave trade in like North and Eastern Africa?
And the Arabs are the same thing.
How's it like?
Arabs are the same.
Arabs are the same as what?
Arabs are the same as white people. They're the same as white people, except one thing. Their slavery was a little less mild, but it was just as cruel.
Because I've heard that argument before that it was actually Arabs that started the slavery thing hundreds of years before Europeans did.
No, man, you got to look at it from a historical standpoint. Slavery has always been around. The ancient Kemetic people had slavery,
right?
But slavery was based on two things among righteous people,
right?
Two things. One, if you owe a debt, if somebody from your family killed a member of my family, in particular if that member of my family was a breadwinner, you have to go into bondage to do the work that person who's providing for that family would do.
That would be considered like indentured servitude, right?
It would be like reparations.
Okay.
Right. And the other thing is, if you have come against my people in unjust warfare, and it costs a lot to engage in warfare. Mm-hmm. If I catch you, you're going to be put in bondage for a certain amount of time in order to make up for all the money that I had to put into fighting you.
Okay.
But running around catching people who had nothing to do with you and harming your people just for money, that was unheard of. That was unheard of in Africa and in among the ancient Kemetic people. This was something that the Arabs and the white people perfected, not us.
Okay. Are you aware of what anime or manga is?
I'm very much aware of what anime and manga is. It is Japanese people's expression of creativity, and it's a great art form. Both of those, manga, which is the comic book-like form, and then anime, which is the animation. You know, these are great grand art forms. My problem is that too many of us follow along doing what Asian people have done instead of coming out with our own way of storytelling. See, the Shades of Memnon and all the rest of my stuff is the African legends genre, man. Mm-hmm. It's not sci-fi. It's not fantasy fiction. It's not anime. It's not manga. It's not based on any of that stuff. The Shades of Memnon and the rest of what I do, including my new series, Princess Nefertari, this is the African legends genre. It is an African-centered perspective of storytelling, of adventure storytelling, based on African people's point of view, worldview, history, and interaction with the world. That's the basis of the African legend genre. So within the African legend genre, you have interpretations of history and spirituality and interaction with spiritual forces that's based on African people's reality rather than somebody else's reality or somebody else's speculation about these things. That's the difference.
So you would never consider like moving to Japan or South Korea to like see if Memnon could be turned into like an anime series, would you?
I would be willing to work with anybody from anywhere to do these things, but it'll be done my way. It won't be done their way. I greatly respect what they do as animators, as storytellers. I greatly respect that. But no, it's going to be done my way. Listen, when you pick up the Shades of Memnon Book 1 and you look at that cover,
that's for me right now.
You'll see that Memnon is standing. He's in a stance that a black man would stand in. You see the sort of rhythm to his stance.
Almost like he's swaying.
Right. He's got swag. Right. Okay. He's got swag. This is the rhythmic swag of our group of people. All right. And that filters down into the storytelling, that filters down into the whole way of doing things. All of that is a part of what I do. And it took me a while, man, to find somebody to do that cover because most of the people had been influenced by anime or Marvel comics that I kept on, meeting up with. Until finally I met the right brother, and I said, look, draw this brother like a brother walking down the street on the south side. With some swag, with some real black swag. I don't want him standing like a Japanese cat. I don't want him standing like Spider-Man with his hands on his hips on top of a building. I want that brotherly swag that brothers have all over the world. And he gave me that. So the aesthetic, that's called the African aesthetic, my brother. And that is how all my stuff is expressed.
Mm.
We're not going to duplicate white folks stuff. We're not going to duplicate Asian folks stuff. This is African stuff.
Mm.
And it always will be. Now, I will work with anybody, white people, black people, whatever, long as it's done
the way you want it to be.
Yeah, as long as it's done, it's true to us.
Okay.
As long as it's true to us, man.
Now, curious question: which one are you gonna like? Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer like the movie series for Memnon, or would you prefer animated?
Animation is the best thing. Is the best way to go.
Oh, so you would animate the movies?
Yes, I would.
Oh, nice. Now, would you still make it a movie, or would you make it like a mini series?
Movie comes later, man. The way that you make your money is through animation. Because if you do animation, you can sell toys and merchandise.
Right. Oh, okay. So you would make it like a TV series first, then make it into a movie later?
That's the strategy, brother.
Oh, nice. Okay. I would so love to see that. So, given we know the kind of racist and messed up history of Hollywood, what would you say about the African mythology that you have seen in Hollywood so far?
It's weak.
That's what I thought.
It's weak. You know, voodoo is zombie voodoo. You know, anything that has to do with African spirituality is all, you know, demonized and mystified. You know, Imhotep in those mummy movies was a demon, when in reality, you know, he was the father of medicine and astrology and astronomy and engineering and all that kind of stuff, but from our real history, but they made him into a demon. And you know, always have these black sidekicks in these movies who are more powerful and cooler and know more about what's going on and how to deal with things than white people, but they never make it to the end of the movie.
Just like the Batman series, the last 3 Batman movies. What was that character that Morgan Freeman played? I can't remember his name.
I forgot, but yeah. They're always the smartest and the strongest people, but they get what I call roles that equate to phony authority figures.
Or the servant.
Right? They holler and yell at the major white star about what they're going to do to them, and you know, this is going against regulation, and we're going to fire you, and all this kind of stuff. But then the white boy goes on and does exactly what he wants to do. And the authority figures never do anything. But the worst, my brother, is the landowning of us.
What do you mean?
The worst thing that happens time after time after time, we get landowed.
What does that mean, landowed?
No, it is. In the early, when George Lucas first came out with Star Wars, there wasn't a black person in the first Star Wars.
I've heard of that, yeah.
There was a time when the blaxploitation, they were pulling the rug out from under the blaxploitation films. Right? No more films about Shaft and, you know, and Coffee and, you know, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff was over with. So they used us at that time in the 70s. They used us in order to get back on their feet after they messed up in the 50s and the 60s. They ruined Hollywood. And so when you ruin something, who do you go to get money in order to get back on your feet? You go to desperate black people. And so for a small amount of time, they made movies. Well, it was only a very fraction of the time. You know, the early 70s is when they really made the good movies about Shaft, The Learning Tree, you know, that type of thing. Those were the good movies, man. The later ones, you know, that was all about the pimps and the hoes and all that kind of stuff. That was something else. But even that didn't go far enough for them. They needed to get rid of that. Because now what happened was people started doing the technology advanced, and they started doing cheap versions of sci-fi and fantasy. And And once that came out, brother, that's where they would make the most money. So black people went to see Star Wars, but they knew they could get a whole lot more of us if they put a black person in it.
Ah, okay.
They put a black person in it because they know more of us as a group, more of us go to the movies than anybody else. More of our population goes to the movies.
Okay, proportionally. Okay, yeah.
Proportionally, than white people go to the movies. Proportionally. We love the movie. We love going to the show.
Let's go back on one more thing. You said Hollywood ruined themselves in the 50s and 60s. What do you mean?
Yeah, and they put out all kinds of movies, man. Ben-Hur, Elizabeth Taylor starring in
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these were all big time what they call sword and sandal movies. And you gotta understand, man, this is back the time when if you were gonna have what they call a cast of thousands, there really was thousands of people out there.
Exactly.
Right? So you know, like that, when you create thousands of digital people.
Right. Okay.
And you use all kinds of camera tricks to get your crowds and
to look as big as possible without actually having that many people there.
No, yeah, man. So you know those movies cost them a lot, and a lot of the studios went bankrupt.
Oh wow. Okay.
In order to get back on their feet, they started making black people, these black exploitation movies, and we went in droves and gave them their money to survive. But once George Lucas with Star Wars and the Jaws movie came out from Spielberg, it changed the game. Now you can do these epic movies with lower level, with very low cost, special effects. But still, they needed black people to get in there for the second movie. So what do? Let's hire this brother that everybody loves that's selling all this liquor, right? And so, they knew Billy D. Williams at the time was probably the most popular brother in America. So they put him in the movie. It didn't have nothing to do with us. Lando's always been a side character. And he brought in that black swag. And once you bring in the black swag is one of the greatest tools in history to make your stuff cool.
It's obvious.
But you don't give the black swag any sort of play. They did two things. One, he brought in James Earl Jones to put the black bass into the...
Exactly, yeah.
And then that's because the black man's bass voice is the most stunning thing in the world. You can't get any more manly than hearing James Earl Jones and people like Barry White.
Right.
People like Dennis Haysbert that played the president on the show 24. Right? You pull brothers like that in to extract that power like a vampire. And you put it into whatever it is that you want to do. But you don't allow that black swag to be utilized for the uplifting of black people. You don't allow them to be shat out. Right? No more shat. No more shat, because that's too powerful. It's too black, too strong. You put any white person next to him, and that white person will not measure up to him. So
you have to weaken them somehow, then use that weakened version to benefit you only.
Exactly.
If you're that movie studio.
So once they found out that as desperate as we are to see a blackface on screen, they found out, hey, this is a damn good thing to do. Let's Lando all of these movies. All right? Let's Lando the Thor movie. This Heimdall character, he was a redhead in the whitest white guy in the Thor book.
Right, and they put Idris Elba, I think.
Because we know we can get black people to come to see the movie if we put them in there. Let's take the Daredevil character with the Kingpin and make him Michael Clark Duncan. Why? Why not? Because we know that we'll get that 25% of the black people to come in there to see that. So let's take these characters, like the next Fantastic Four is going to have the brother playing Johnny Storm. All right, the white guy.
That's funny.
instead of giving them legitimate African characters from Africa, let's just make these whitewashed versions, blackface versions of white characters, just to shut these niggas up and get money. That's called landowning, my brother.
Landowning. Okay.
Landowning, right. Whenever they do that, it means black folks as a collective have been landowed again. They did it with Lando Calrissian, and they continue to do it with all kinds of other characters, on and on and on and on.
Do you feel that there's an opposite phenomenon where they actually do have really good, strong African characters, but they always like downplay them and put them in the background?
That's part of the course, my brother.
Storm, Black Panther, what? John Stewart, Green Lantern. It's like they should be awesome, but they never get any real play ever.
Right.
Instead, the overhyped Wolverine. It's like Storm was supposed to be second in command.
They're all glorification of themselves, man. They're for the glorification of themselves.
Because if you read the original X-Men, Storm was supposed to be like second in command after Professor Xavier. But in the movie, she's like, she does nothing except get beat up all the time.
Yeah, that's all that happens to Storm. She's the most powerful, one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Pantheon, but she never gets to the point.
Right.
Why? Because they can't have that, man. You can't have these black characters, man, come on their own. You can't have that. From their perspective, you can't have that.
These people must be really old in the Hollywood industry, because there's a lot of people like my age, like 20s and 30s, all races. They're like, can Storm get her own movie eventually, please? They're like begging for it, and it's not happening. Everybody wants Storm to have her own movie. From what I hear, it doesn't seem to happen ever. So it's like these Hollywood producers, like, they seem to be very out of touch with the reality of what the audience wants. Is what it looks like to me. Very out of touch.
Well, they're going along with their old institutions and their old paradigms, man. But me, for my money, yeah, I would like to see it. I'd like to see Black Panther. I'd like to see Storm. I'd like to see some of these other characters get their, more due. But none of them are enough for me, my brother.
Oh.
None of them are enough for me. None of them are enough for me. Not even Black Panther. I want to see a historical African hero from historical African people broadcast all over the world, standing on their own, where the white people are either the sidekicks or are irrelevant to the story. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
Right? And that's what I write, man. My stories are my stories, I'm not doing the white dude and just create like Lord of the Rings and have all the characters that could be construed as black people.
No.
Eat, ride elephants and all this kind of stuff like that. No. I don't make all white people evil in my books here. But I do grow up other black people. I make sure I do that.
Exactly.
We need glorified stories and glorified heroes just the same way anybody else does.
Nice. Can we pause for like a couple minutes and then come back for another hour? Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
I'm gonna pause for about 5 minutes and then freshen up a little bit and then come back to it.
All right.
Thanks. Now, I actually want to go back on something you said earlier about the bassy male voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it true that these guys are like studying psychology and like physiology of black people, and they seem to just know so much more about our history and their own way of doing things more than we do? That's what it seems like to me.
No, it's not that deep, brother.
No?
They have a tradition of capitalizing on black people's strengths that goes back hundreds of years, and that's what they do. They don't need to study.
Okay. Because I remember hearing somewhere about how they've actually shown that psychologically, men and women like a deep, bassy voice a lot more than a high-pitched voice. And that some people might actually use that to draw in more crowds when they want to get people more into something. But, okay.
Yeah, man, that's authority.
Okay.
A deep voice designates authority. Remember a character named Captain Picard?
Captain who?
Captain Picard.
Captain Picard. That sounds vaguely familiar.
Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Make it so.
Yeah, okay. I've heard that.
Yeah, it's always like that, man. And we usually have the deepest voices around.
It is pointless to resist, my son.
Remember a character in Star Trek named Michael Dorn played a character called Worf?
Yeah, he's the one with the large forehead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they do also in sci-fi. They always make us the aliens.
I've noticed that too. They don't even do that. Sometimes they make the black person the alien with like a weird handicap or something. Like the one guy who's blind. They do that one a lot. They love doing that for some reason. There's always a blind black dude somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's what.
Despite the history of Hollywood, would you say you have any favorite black characters or superheroes in any Hollywood movies or series or not? Because I remember you said that none of them seem to do it for you, right?
There's a character that Avery Brooks played years ago, a man called Hawk.
A man called Hulk?
A man called Hawk.
Oh, that's where they got the other Hulk from, because it actually was a copy of the original one, right?
No. A man called H-A-W-K.
Oh, Hawk. Okay. I thought you were talking about the Hulk. Okay.
No. A man called Hawk.
Who was that? I'm not sure who that is.
In the 80s, there was a show on called Spencer for Hire. Spencer was a detective. White boy. Whenever he would get in trouble, he would call this mysterious, super bad brother that would show up and save his white ass. His brother his name was Hawk. And Hawk was so super bad that eventually they did give him his own TV show. It only lasted like 10 episodes though. Why? Because Hawk was a guy who used to work for the CIA, government agencies, and decided to stop working for them. And he started putting first of all, the first thing he did, he was putting his efforts into saving the white guy, Spencer. But when he got his own TV show, Avery Brooks, who portrayed him, Avery Brooks, the same guy that portrayed the captain on Deep Space Nine, he portrayed Hawk. And through his influence, he made Hawk a person who was about the black community. So he had Hawk working to keep black community safe. And he was a serious brother, man. If you needed help, he'd come in and help you beat up all the gangsters, beat up the corrupt politicians, kill the bad guys, and walk away looking super bad, super cool, and super smooth. A man called Hulk.
I'm going to look that up. Spencer for Hire. Okay.
Yeah, Spencer for Hire. Just go to YouTube and type in a man called Hulk opening. A man called Hulk opening. And you'll see the opening to the series I'm talking about.
Oh, it was live action. I thought it was animated. Okay. By Lee Goldberg 7 years ago. Let me see if I can get it.
Yeah, just press the button and look at it. You see how he gave you that slight smile at the end?
Yeah. And I love how they named him Hawk after one of the major animals in the Egyptian artwork that we tend to see in museums and stuff.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, man. He used to hang out at black museums.
Yeah, because I noticed the hawk and the snake seem to be very central figures inside the Egyptian mythology.
Yeah.
And the cat.
Yeah, so that character, Hawk, was an extraordinary character, man. Every once in a while, we have the black swag, the black strength, the black depth to seep through. And it did for a little while. It was only a few episodes of that, man, but it was legendary.
Nice. You only one, or are there any other ones that you like?
Well, I like Black Dynamite that's out now.
Black Dynamite. That came out a couple years ago. I saw about that. That looked really good, especially when it was low budget.
Yeah, there's a new Black Dynamite that's out now. There's a new season of it out now.
Okay.
It's on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network.
Now, what's your opinion on black superheroes in like Marvel and DC universe? Or you don't really care about them?
I care, just not much, man. You got to realize the superhero genre was created for white people, by white people, to glorify white people. It's their thing.
I see.
The average superhero, man, there's an outside thing. There's a scientific thing that happens to them that makes them into a superhero. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with your own inner development and all that kind of stuff like that. It's something that happens to you. You know, whereas if you go around the world, particularly Africa, you know, the heroes are people that have to go through things to develop these talents in music.
Right. You mean like Captain America? So from your viewpoint or your opinion,
what makes Captain America was a technological event.
Right. So in the way you look at it, that'd be too cheap in terms of making a superhero. It's like he just got that because he was an experiment, basically.
From an African perspective, that's correct.
I can understand that. It's like, that's how you got his powers? That's it? It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. But see, this goes along with the white way of looking at things, man. They always get what they get from appropriating it. Very rarely, you know, have white people gotten, you know, these great things that they've gotten out of their own inner workings, man. You know, they go and take it from somewhere. They you know, it's out of some type of outside thing. You know, they took a continent. They make people work for them. They take people's land. You know, then they stand around looking, hey, look what we did. You pirated this from somewhere else. You didn't do it. You appropriated it from somewhere. Superhero genre is no different. It's their way of thinking.
What's your opinion on black superheroines and the lack of them in the whole universe of superheroes?
I have the same attitude, man. I deal with that in my new book, Princess Nefertari, The Protectress of the Nile. I have a new book series about an ancient Kemetic princess who goes on in the books, the comic books, to become the queen of Kemet. And it shows her going through these various things, and it shows her development and how these things are developed from within that she gets. And it doesn't happen in terms of somebody giving her a green power ring or, biting her with some type of radioactive spider or something like that. It shows that she has to go through these things to develop these
powers
gifts
over time.
Right, and the gifts has a lot to do. The gifts have a whole lot to do with her, her point of view and her maturity as a person. See, these people, these superheroes, man, they get gifts based on nothing. They're just standing there.
They get electrocuted or bit by something, or someone just gives them some weird device or something like that. And it's like, when you think about it objectively, these powers are kind of cheaply given.
Right.
So it's like, yeah.
Right. They're always cheaply given. Now, what Stan Lee did, Stan Lee went further than other people who had created superheroes created. Stan Lee created the whole thing, and this is why I'm so down with Marvel over DC. Because Stan Lee, his genius was the fact that he put the whole thing of, with great power comes great responsibility, and he started another level of storytelling with superheroes that I greatly admire. But still, it was about, somebody doing something somewhere else, you getting something somewhere else. But still, it was like that.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What do you mean by Stan Lee creating this whole other thing? What do you mean?
Nobody had addressed superheroes like that before Stan Lee did. Stan Lee, the great lesson in Spider-Man, when Spider-Man first began, the first thing that Spider-Man does is use his powers and abilities to make money. That's the first thing he does. He goes to this wrestling match to wrestle people using his superior strength, spider strength, and all his agility and all that, and he makes cash money. Somebody robs the place. They rob the place and run out with the money right past them, and he could have stopped that person. He was powerful enough to stop the person and give the people their money back. But he said, why should I interfere with this? His Uncle Ben Parker was waiting for him outside in a car.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, okay.
And the bad guy ran out there and he needed to get away, so he needed to jack a car from someone. And he shot Spider-Man's Uncle Ben and killed him and took the car. Spider-Man could have done something. He could have stopped him. But he didn't. Because he was only in it for the money.
Oh.
He used his powers and abilities for cash money, and he didn't care about helping the world or making the world a better place. So he didn't stop him. So he lost his uncle. And so that gave him the lesson that he needed. And what Stan Lee's message was, great power comes great responsibility.
So you feel like the Marvel universe is much better in developing these characters and making them kind of be more mature than in the DC universe?
Always has been.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Always has been.
Are you aware of the New 52 that came out recently? DC's New 52 series?
Heard about it.
But
I haven't been interested enough to take a look at it though.
There's been this controversy about making Amanda Waller slim. Like in some series, they're not making her fat anymore. Some people are angry about that. I just find that interesting.
I'm not familiar with that character. Is this a character that's from the something called Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I've never read any books.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with them, man. Listen, man. I used to be Mr. Comic Book Man up until the 90s. Mm-hmm. I used to do reviews for comic books and graphic novels for the American Library Association.
Yeah, okay. Could you go into that a little bit? Like, could you elaborate on what you did for that?
As a matter of fact, I cracked the market for the for comic books in the libraries. I was the one that did that. We started doing reviews of comic books and graphic novels. They didn't even accept them into the American Library Association. There was a magazine called Booklist Magazine that I used to do it for.
Booklist Magazine?
Booklist Magazine, yeah. It's the most famous library magazine in the world. And I came and did a presentation to them about comic books and graphic novels. And they hired me to do reviews of comic books and graphic novels. I did hundreds of reviews. But after a while, it was apparent to me that my efforts and my breakthroughs made the comic book industry richer. And the comic book industry wasn't doing anything for diversity of black people in the comics. So I stopped doing it. I stopped collecting comics. I stopped reading comics. And I got totally into history, ancient history, and particularly black history. And that's how the African legend genre came about.
African legends genre. Okay. Now, are there any other mythologies or heroes that people could pull from the African legend genre other than Memnon?
I have a book series out called Nimrod the Hunter.
Nimrod the Hunter.
Yeah, Nimrod the Hunter.
And Memnon.
Nimrod is based on the Cushite character, the Bible, that they say was a mighty hunter before the Lord in the Old Testament.
Now, what I actually meant to ask is, other than Memnon, Nefertiti, or Nimrod, is there anybody else that has been written a story about by other authors other than you? Or are you the only one?
There's other people who are doing representations of historical figures also. I wouldn't call it African legends though, because you don't see any intense culture and spirituality of the people involved. In my book, you see the people interacting with the ancestors and with the higher spiritual forces from an African perspective, which is a core part of what being an African is. So you can't tell people that you're writing African stories and you don't have the African point of view towards spirituality and towards the things of a higher spiritual nature in those books. If you just have black mannequins going through some oceans, you don't have real people. In the Shades of Memnon, book 1, for instance, in book 1, chapter 1, I have Memnon going to a chamber to meditate after he acts up in school.
Right.
To a chamber and meditates, and he does a meditation, a Heru meditation, to steady his mind and to bring himself peace. This is what you have to have if you're going to really tell stories about us and about our group of people. You can't leave out what made us the African people, and that's our spirituality and our point of view towards things of a spiritual nature. And unfortunately, you have you have a few authors out there that are writing stuff that have African bases and African characters, where that's totally left out.
So it's basically just you with the African legends genre. That's about it?
It's just me so far.
We need more. I really want to get this out there somehow.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that there's not other good stories with African characters in them.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there are very well written stories in some cases. The series I call Immoral. I Minoro. Mauro. And this series is a very rich story, and it's about an alternate world, an alternate African world. And it's very similar to the Conan the Barbarian books. This is put out by a brother named Charles Saunders. Charles Saunders, Saunders. He's a great writer. He's a masterful writer, better writer than me. But his writing, the stories that he tells are derivative in terms of showcasing the real deal about African people and African culture. I haven't had any indications from him. I've spoken to him. I've read his stuff. I read his blog. I haven't had any indication from him that he's learned anything about African culture on that level.
I'm going to look him up. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, he's got good books. I recommend the books. I recommend them to anybody. My point is, though, that they're not African legends genre books, though.
Okay.
He calls them he calls his books Sword and Soul.
Sword and Soul. Okay.
Sword and Soul books. That's what he calls his books. Sword and Soul. So he calls his books the Sword and Soul genre. And I got a problem with it. I got no problem with, any author coming out with his own stories and calling them what they want to call them. I got no problem with it. Calls his what he wants to call them, and I call my stuff what I want to call them. It's the African. I do the African legends genre. That's what it is.
So, when it comes to making Memnon like a TV series or a movie series, like who would you most likely pick to be like the directors, the actors, all the people that would work on it? If you had it your way.
If I had things my way, the brother that directed The Equalizer with Denzel Washington,
Equalizer.
He would be the director. There would be Fuqua, Antoine Fuqua. He also directed Denzel in Training Day. And I'd have somebody like either Wesley Snipes or Denzel play the senior Memnon.
And who played?
I don't know yet who I would have play the younger Memnon.
Michael J. White?
Michael J. White is too old to play the younger Memnon.
That wouldn't work.
He's another candidate for the elder Memnon.
Okay.
Right. Any one of them could play Nimrod the Hunter, though.
Okay. What about Nefertiri? Anybody that could play her? Or?
I'm looking at this young lady that's on this show called Sleepy Hollow that was to play. Let me get her name. Let's see. Her name is Nicole Harry.
Nicole Harry?
Nicole Bihari. Nicole Bihari.
B-I-H?
B-E-H-A-R-I-E.
H-A-R.
Yeah, she would make a good Nefertari.
As far as directors, would you consider someone like Guillermo del Toro or no?
He'd be good.
Because I know he's worked with Wesley Snipes a couple of times before, and his movies are pretty good, actually.
Yeah, he's good, man. I would work with somebody. There's a lot of great directors out there that I've worked with. I would rather work with someone who has life experience and point of views beyond the just regular, white person's point of view. Now, if it is a white person, I want to work with a white person that knows and understands different people, particularly black people.
Who else would be a good candidate for it? Just curious.
Well, I don't know offhand, man, but it would be somebody that has a background in doing, fantasy, adventure, action type stories, and somebody with a very dramatic point of view towards telling stories. I have to check the list of people who are like that.
And have you ever, who have you met in the Hollywood industry that you think might be interested in your book, or who's read your book so far? Anyone well known?
A lot of people read the book, man. Bill Duke read the book. He wrote the introduction to the first Shades of Memnon books, in the series.
Oh, that was him. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he introduced me to various people in the industry. I met Samuel Jackson through Bill Duke. These are all people, that I would like to, to work with. In fact, Samuel Jackson told me that he would like to work with me after he found out, about my work.
Nice.
These things are have to be put in development the right way, man. So that so that they can be pursued correctly. I've had a lot of different offers and different people coming and stuff like that, and nothing's quite worked out yet. So I started, the Actor Legends Animation Ltd. and as a Bahamian company because I'll be pursuing a lot of this myself with my own, people that I'm going to get.
Now, are there any famous people you would want to read your book so that way you can get more exposure and more people can learn about who Memnon and what Memnon is, or no?
Well, Wesley read it, and he told the other people that he knew that was famous read it. But the point is, man, you have to really know what's really going on, man. Movie stars have no power. You understand what I'm saying? They have no power to do it. They're workers. They're not the people who have real power to green light projects, man. Typically, $100 million movie projects and stuff like that. They don't have that type of plot. So a bunch of people in the industry have read my book, but they don't have the type of power and ability to bring it to fruition as a movie or something like that, or a TV series. They don't have that type of power.
The only people that have that type of power are the producers, right?
Producers, the head of the studios, those are the people that have it.
What about other authors that are well known? Nah?
There's all kinds of stuff always going on with other authors, man. And if it doesn't go along with the regular Hollywood paradigm, they usually don't pursue it.
Because I'm curious, I'm wondering what would happen if someone like J.K. Rowling ever found your book and read it and tried to make it popular or something, if she found it interesting.
She has no power in the industry, man. She's a worker.
I see.
They trick and fool you, man, with these names out here. And you think these people have real power because they have big names. They don't. Well, the people who have the real power you never hear of. The people with the ability to make a phone call and make a movie happen don't hear about that. They don't put their names up like that.
Okay. Now, really curious question. Let's say the first 3 Shades of Memnon films have already been produced and people have already watched it all over the world. What would you hope to be the reaction of people who watch it worldwide?
Same thing that I hope is the reaction of people who read the books. I want black people to be uplifted by them, and I want white people to have respect for us. And I want everybody to be entertained.
Okay. I think that's it. I got just a few more questions. Anything else you'd like to add? Anything might have skipped over, anything like that, or no?
Well, anybody who's listening to this, man, I really want to know that what I do more than anything is I put out work that's designed to be a part of the world's creative canon, the world's creative. I want my work to be remembered for its value, for its artistry, for its timeliness. I want people to point to my work, centuries from now, as something that was a good contribution to the art and to the state of the world. This is what I write for. This is what I do. This is why I do what I do.
Okay. Nice. You say you're going to be sending me links to the references of the Ethiopians, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that really appreciate that, because I really need to find that. It's not very easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a Shades of Memnon website?
Just go to Amazon. You'll see my work there.
Okay. And what's the different ways that people can reach you or find more info about all the works that you work on? Just Amazon or anything else?
They can reach me through my email, which is greg.brotherg@gmail.com.
greg.brotherg@gmail.com. Okay. Is there a reason why there is no website? Because it seems like it would be really helpful if you did have a website for the whole series. Or you just didn't want to make one?
I'll be doing something like that soon.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you said it's greg.brotherg@gmail.com.
You got it.
Okay. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
All right, my brother. It's been a great discussion, man. And I really have enjoyed it, man.
Oh, and one more thing. Would you be able to go have more discussions like this later on about your other books or not?
Sure.
Absolutely, because I definitely want to bring you on later on in the next
just
year.
Go to Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com. You'll see, all the Shades of Memnon books there for order. You'll see the Nimrod the Hunter book.
Right.
You'll see the Princess Nefertari book. These are all available for the Princess Nefertari and the
Nimrod the Hunter.
So on Kindle also.
So I'll definitely be buying those, trying to check those out when I read them. Hopefully I'll bring you back in the near future and we'll talk about those too.
Sounds good, my brother.
All right.
Okay.
Really appreciate it, man.
Peace.
Peace.
That's the end of this episode of Obsidian-Radio with your host Najee. Thank you all for listening. I hope you learned from it and enjoyed. Please check out the Obsidian-Radio YouTube channel and Google Plus page for episodes of the show. Also check out the RoboMan5 YouTube channel and Google Plus page for my rants, blogs, show episodes, and my original music. And finally, check out the Obsidian-Radio website for episodes of the show and episode archives. Please like, share, subscribe, and or donate to be a part of this radio show. and there will be more enlightening and entertaining episodes posted soon. Peace.